Morning everybody, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. This morning I'm going to be reacting to a SCP video, the SCP Foundation, yes. It's called Exploring the SCP Foundation, SCP-4036, made on the Exploring series. This was a request from Ritowski, yes, Ritowski Cat. Hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Ritowski Cat. Yes. If you guys want to check out my previous reaction to other SCP Foundation videos, remember that the playlist card is going to be at the top right here. If you want to check out the original video as well as the Exploring Series YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Okay, let's start with SCP-4036. 3, 2, 1, go.
SCP-4036, The Republic. Anomalous autonomy is something the Foundation has always struggled with to some degree. It's a no-brainer to contain some big bad monster that's only interested in mayhem and destruction, but things can be a little murkier when it comes to some anomalous humans. Many of them just want to live out their lives in peace, but the Foundation's rigid dedication to preserving normalcy often gets in the way of that. SCP-4036 is not about a single person, but rather an entire nation of the anomalous, and while things are fairly clear-cut at first, the Foundation will eventually have to decide how far they'll go with containment.
So somehow the SCP Foundation has been able to contain an entire nation. Interesting. And where is this nation? And how were they able to contain it? Are they using other SCP items to hide this nation from the rest of the world? Because, I find it quite hard to believe that an entire nation can be hidden. Because there's interpersonal trade between other nations. People get married, people migrate to other places, but they know of the location of where they come from. That is now hidden by the SCP. So how do they manage to keep this as a secret from people who come from that place or people who know of that place? Interesting.
SCP-4036 is a small, unitary, theocratic republic located in an archipelago in the southeastern region of Polynesia. The archipelago is 300 kilometers in radius and 100,000 square kilometers in area, and the citizens of the republic refer to their nation as the Aditite Republic of Polynesia.
Aditite Republic of Polynesia. But you see, like I was saying, how do you hide an entire nation? And since it's in Polynesia, it must be like islands, right? So how do you hide an entire nation and their landmass from the rest of the world? Especially when you think about the regions surrounding the southeast region of Polynesia. When you think about Australasia, Micronesia, Melanesia, there are a lot of islands there. There are a lot of people who take to ship and they trade and they travel to different places across that entire region. So I don't understand how is it that the SCP Foundation was able to keep an entire nation under quarantine and, having nobody being able to actually enter into that nation. I still don't understand that part. Because it's a big ocean, the Pacific Ocean. And the people who live there, maybe they've been given some sort of memory erasure drug, I don't know, but I just find it very difficult to understand how they're able to contain an entire nation of people.
It was previously under the autocratic rule of a man named Norman Taylor from
Norman Taylor. Okay.
1857 to 1862.
1857 to 18. Okay. Wow. How long has the SCP Foundation been in existence for? I thought it was a modern construct, like from maybe like the 80s or the 90s and all the way up to the 200s. Wow, okay. This is new to me. I wonder how long have they been in existence for then?
For his assassination by Foundation-backed groups in the region. Prior to his assassination, the Republic was highly militaristic, combining industrial-age technology with biological weaponry to create a mobilized military.
Biological weaponry? In the 18th century? In the 18th century, where we were still dealing with steam-powered engines and wooden ships and, gunpowder cannons. This nation had, biological weaponry. Interesting.
The government had controlled around 30% of Polynesia, with the majority of its holdings in sparsely populated locations, but current authorities of the nation have disavowed Norman Taylor and previous imperialist ambitions. The population of the Republic is primarily anomalous, with current estimates ranging from 50% to 80%, and government statistics stating that around 64% is anomalous. The population is primarily capable of flesh manipulation, as the state religion of the Republic is Sarkicism.
Wow. Flesh manipulation. Sarkicism. Okay. Sarkicism. Wow. Flesh manipulation. Biological, weapons made out of flesh, I'm assuming. Yeah, that's impressive. That's like magic. That's like magic. Okay.
Although there are small Christian and Islamic groups within the country. Freedom of religion is allowed under their constitution, but most non-Sarkic instances worship in secret to prevent social and political ostracization.
Yeah, well, this is a theocratic republic, and the state religion is Sarkicism, and any other religion, yes, on paper they might have the freedom to express their religion, but, in society, it must be frowned upon because the main state religion must be the supreme alpha and omega in terms of how the people are to be led, how the people are to worship their gods. That's where it sticks. Yeah, interesting.
The society is primarily rural, with a few central urban areas where the majority of the population lives. These urban locations vary from standard concrete to biological buildings. Economically, the Republic is built around animal and human agriculture, manufacturing, and...
Wait a minute. Animal and human agriculture. Well, because they are flesh manipulators, then... Wow. Ew. That is so... It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So, are they using the flesh of living beings, or are they dead? I'm just wondering about that. Now, when they're manipulating flesh, it has to be alive, right? So, are they just taking people, or are they taking animals and then they're manipulating the flesh and joining it together to make houses. Man, this is reminding me of the Eldar, the Dark Eldar from Warhammer 40k. They are reminding me of the Dark Eldar from Warhammer 40k, how they are able to create, flesh furniture. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Tobacco farming, although trade is impossible due to the ongoing containment of the region by the Foundation. Its government is divided into 3 branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. The legislative branch is further divided into 3 houses: the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the Karcist Council. The House of Representatives comprises around 100 individuals, each one representing 100 people. The Senate is composed of 10 delegates, each representing 1,000 people. The Karcist Council is a group of 20 individuals representing the main religious governing body, the Church of the Republic, of which all citizens are members. This council is made up of individuals hand-selected by the Karcist, one of the leaders of the overarching Sarkic religion, and a bill can be made into law in one of 2 ways: either by approval from 60% of both the Senate and House of Representatives, or by a majority vote from the Karcist Council, even if one house unanimously rejects the proposal. In other words, Sarkicism is a major driving force behind the laws of the Republic.
Well, it is a theocratic state, and everybody who is in power believes in Sarkicism. They are a, Sarkist, religious believer. So, yeah, it's no surprise that the true power is held by those who are in control of the religion. And the other state, or should I say spheres of government, all have to adhere to the state church and whatever they dictate. So really, it's no surprise.
The executive branch is made up of a president, elected by popular vote, and their cabinet, both serving 5-year terms with no chance for re-election. All cabinet positions must be approved of by the Karcist Council in majority vote, or by 60% of both the Senate and House, again pointing to the authority of Sarkicism here. The judicial branch makes up the Supreme Court of the Republic, composed of 6 posts, all for life. This is made up of appointees chosen by the President and approved of by a simple majority in the Senate and House, with the Karcist Council having no involvement in the appointment of judges.
I don't know, it kind of sounds similar to the American system, in terms of choosing Supreme Court judges, even their legislative government. It kind of sounds very eerily familiar to me, in terms of the American political, operation. Yeah.
Overall, the society is a combination of proto-Sarkic beliefs and modernity, with a heavy focus on religious and civic patriotism, as well as modern technology. Religiosity of Grand Karcist Ion is highly valued by the public, along with technological innovation. Electronic and digital products are popular among the people, with the majority of them coming from either smuggling or bootlegging. Biological machinery is also used by the populace, primarily among lower classes, although it's often viewed as inferior to digital and electronic technology, and is usually used when non-biological options are not available. Often, lower classes are incapable of buying products, resorting to crafting their own, and it's believed that the average farm uses up to 30% of its produce in the creation of clothing for the farmer and their family.
I mean, yeah. Wait, are they wearing flesh, or are they wearing the hide skin of the animal? I'll understand that, but if they're wearing flesh, ew. No, I'm sorry. That's just no. I understand cooking that food and eating it, but not wearing it. You would attract a lot of bacteria and maggots from flies and all that type of stuff. And no, no. But if they're wearing the hide of an animal, the skin, then I understand that.
While social stratification exists in the society, every individual is entitled to adequate healthcare and food, with the healthcare being comparatively the cheapest in the world. This is most likely due more to the abundance of biological manipulation and crafting among the population than to any inherent superiority of the healthcare system. Participation in the Republic's armed forces or civil duty is mandatory once a citizen reaches the age of 19, either spending 2 years in the armed forces or 16 months in civil duty.
Okay, let's get back to the healthcare in terms of flesh manipulation or biological manipulation. How far does it go exactly? Does it go down to the blood cells inside a human body or an animal? The manipulation, how far does it go in terms of manipulating the health of someone? Like, if someone has got a disease, will you be able to manipulate that disease to be expelled from the body? Would you somehow make the white cells in your body increase so that it can fend off any sort of bacteria or disease that you might be affected by? Is that why the healthcare is so cheap and just readily available? Because of those who can manipulate flesh, they're able to save your life without the modern practices of medicine, where you have your types of medicines that are able to help you, where you have surgeons who can operate on your body. They don't need to exist because these people who can manipulate flesh are able to do it. I don't know, how do they do it? With their hands? Or what? Very interesting.
Most citizens choose the latter option. Since Sarkicism is such a driving force of the Republic, patriotic and religious feelings often coincide with one another in the nation's cultural depictions. Clavigar Sarn is often heavily associated with Lady Adytum, the personification of the Republic, and prayer often occurs directly after a salute to the flag. Every president of the Republic has cited a strong belief in Sarkicism, and the majority of the population hold the belief that an individual cannot be a citizen of the country without also being a Sarkic.
Man, that is dangerous. That is very dangerous. I don't like that notion. Because as a human being, we were never born to be, one entity for the rest of our lives. We evolve, we change, we adapt. We have the agency to choose how our lives are going to be led. No one should be choosing for us. And the fact that in this state, the absolutes of this state religion, I don't like that form of control. I don't like that form of expectation. And if you fail at it, I don't know, maybe you might be killed, or you'll be sent into a re-education camp, or you'll just be incarcerated for the rest of your life, I'm not sure. Or you'll be, ostracized by the entire community simply because you don't believe in what they believe in, and you're following your own path. Yeah, I don't really like that.
The Republic's military often uses the seal of Clavigar Auroch, the Clavigar of war and domination. Currently, the Republic has been contained to around 300 islands, and not allowed to expand beyond these borders. While no official treaty or cooperative agreement has been established between the country and the Foundation, there have been no further attempts by either side to cease the stalemate. the Foundation Navy keeps a constant perimeter of the area to ensure the Republic's isolation.
The Foundation has a navy? My gosh.
And Foundation operatives have been embedded in various political, military, religious, and cultural institutions within the nation. We're provided a file detailing the Foundation's information on Norman Taylor, the founder of the Republic. As mentioned, Taylor became highly militaristic, forcing the Foundation to neutralize him before he became too much of a problem. Prior to Taylor's founding of the Republic, he developed a brief but impactful relationship with another man named William Walker in 1853. Walker was attempting to recruit mercenaries to create the independent Federal Republic of Sonora and the Republic of Lower California as slave colonies in the region. However, by 1854, the relationship between the two had declined, and they split. By 1855, Taylor had heard various stories about a virgin island in the southern area of Polynesia, filled with resources such as sugarcane, tobacco, and gold. Notably, the region purportedly contained a population that had very little, if any, contact with European explorers, and was, in the eyes of some, servile in nature. In 1856, Taylor wrote to his brother John, who operated a private shipbuilding and trading service at the time, asking for a variety of ships for the journey. John delivered the ships at a reduced cost, but only under the condition that he never contact him again. By the following year, Taylor hired around 300 mercenaries to come with him in the total of 10 ships, outfitted with cannons and 1 year's worth of food for the entire crew. They departed for the island, despite Taylor having no direct evidence of its existence, only rumors. Fortunately, Taylor kept a journal of the trip, and I'll read it verbatim. Walker ruined Sonora and Baja, and is currently ruining Nicaragua. He is an immoral slaver who believes himself better than all others. I tried to force him in the right direction, but he would not listen to reason. This time, things will be sufficiently different. We have weaponry. We are away from normal civilization, and away from the Americas.
How is this going to be any different exactly? You have weapons. How is this going to be any different? Norman, you're not going to fool me. You're not going to fool me.
Of course, other colonial powers are nearby, but as long as we do not anger them or gain their attention, all things will turn out well. Walker was crude in his presidential style, only ever focusing on slavery, that horrific, barbaric institution. It was a fantasy, as if they would be set atop the aristocracy instead of a rich Tennessean. It's quite crude and immoral venture, in my view. A yellow man, an anthropologist who has accompanied me on my voyage for the sake of easy communication with these tribesmen, came to me in private confidence to warn me about his perceived fears over this project of mine.
Can you call people by their names instead of highlighting your racial identification of that person? Calling them a yellow man?
I told him that such fears were not justified. We were both Republicans. We both believed slavery was immoral. Did he not agree that it was the job of more civilized people, like us and the Japanese, to bring civilization to these poor, barbaric people?
No. They never asked for this. They didn't ask for you to come by and give them your version of civilization. And who told you that they're poor? Who said that they are poor? Nobody. So, really, your justification of why you were coming to these islands, and coming to the people of those islands, is already based on your colonial mindset. So, you say that you are against the perpetuation of slavery is not enough, because slavery and colonialism go hand in hand. So the moment you step foot on that island, you're already committing an atrocious act, because you're not here to explore, you're here to exploit.
To provide them the tools and the resources to fight back against tyranny.
What tyranny? The only tyranny is you. The only tyranny is you.
Exploitation of the weak and powerless is inherent to the human condition. Cain slew Abel just for being more pleasing in the eyes of our Lord and Savior. 4 people on our planet, and we have our first murder. The first time blood was spilled upon the ground in the pursuit of petty revenge. It is our job to give these people some sort of equal standing, to have people defend them against exploitation.
Norman, the type of shit you have to continue telling yourself like this, it's amazing. It's astounding. I find you very funny. You're a clown.
The yellow man agreed and went back to work. We reached the island. I saw a woman in the tree line matching the descriptions of the natives. She wore flesh-like things on her body, covering her below the waist. I'd almost say she was the living image of beauty herself, if the abhorrent symbols didn't dot her face and body. Children destroying their bodies for the sake of barbaric culture. We made camp here, and plan on keeping camp here for as long as necessary. I believe these natives would make fine workers, if we gain the friendship of their cultural institutions.
Workers. Okay, Norman.
Loyalty to these institutions brings sacrifice for the greater good. Great civilizations are built on the back of good workers.
Good workers? Oh, Norman.
To the east of this campsite, I found a small patch of dirt with queer protrusions jutting from it. It was hairy, but not like plant fuzz, almost animal-like in its physicality. I felt an instinctual urge to pull on it, to see what there was. I ordered the men to help me when I could not get it out myself, and together we managed to rip the plant out of the ground. The protrusion was not a plant, but a tail. The tail of a large swine. We had ripped its tail off. How such a swine came into existence on this geographically isolated island, I am unsure.
I'm sure the people of the island were able to trade with other islands in Polynesia, for food and for animal livestock. I mean, people were not isolated on these islands. They traded with one another. So really, it's no surprise why you would find a pig on this island, or why you would find other animals that you would not expect on this island. You will find them here because people traded with one another. They sailed those seas, or the ocean, the Pacific Ocean.
As we got up, we stared at the creature. It squealed in pain, trying to get itself up and walk, but fell back on its side and continued to bleed and whimper. As it lay dying, I drew my pistol and killed the poor thing. I looked over the corpse after killing it. It seemed fully grown. A scout team has returned to our camp. 4 men dead and 3 more injured. They testified that while searching for natives, a large 15-foot-tall beast has come from the greenery on the beach side of the island. Bullets did nothing against the bone shields. I ordered my ships to scout the beachside, searching for the beast. Considering the circumstances, I believed it prudent. The beast attacked our camp, slaughtering 21 of our men. It towered at least 19 feet, with the majority of its face surrounded by yellowy bone. This creature was foreign to me. It had the torso of a mammoth, the head of a horse, and the claws of a bear. Its torso was covered in thick white bone, and its claws being made entirely of flesh. They morphed and changed like liquid metal. It tore through men, slashing them apart like factory equipment, with giant long tendrils popping out of nowhere, only to be reabsorbed back into its body. Its flesh almost looked like a spider's web, interconnecting into itself, layering on top of one another. But it almost seemed to be independent of the beast, trying to force itself into 1,000 different directions, but being stamped down by the superior force. Some of our men got stuck inside. Just touching it is enough to get stuck. An arm becomes your entire body.
Wow. Okay, wow. This flesh beast is quite impressive. Terrifying, in fact. Huh.
I can still hear the screams.
And I'm assuming it's the people of the island that created this flesh beast. What do they call the republic again? The Aditic Republic. Well, before they became a republic, the people of this island, those who believe in Scarcism. I cannot pronounce this name. But yeah, the people who belong to this island, they're the ones who created and manipulated the flesh to create this creature.
As those men were consumed inside the mass of flesh, as muffled as they were. I felt its eyes bore into me, as our cannons tore through its flesh, leaving large holes in its body. It still twitches, sometimes. I need to lay down or else I'll rip this page out. I plan on going to the middle of the island, seeing if there are any natives there. I'll take exactly 100 armed men there and see if we can come to some sort of agreement with the natives. I wish to make good on my promise to the anthropologist and avoid hurting as many as possible. I killed a chieftain today.
Wow, that was quick. Yeah.
Or what I presume was a chieftain. He ordered us to lay down our weapons, at least from what the anthropologist told us. I shoot him in the head, and he falls to the ground without a single yelp or whimper of pain.
How do you find peace with these people if you just shoot their chief right in the face like that? You are contradicting yourself. You are contradicting yourself. I'm starting to think that you and Mr. Walker are no different. You're just using different types of words to justify your actions here. You don't fool me.
Some ran in fear, others too fearful to run, of which we captured and took back to camp. The anthropologist and I hate seeing the poor creatures in pain, but This is their fate for the time being.
Excuse me?
We talked to one of them, a boy no older than 10. He thanked us for killing the chieftain, for his rule was immoral and cruel. I received similar testimonies from the others of this chieftain's cruelty.
I don't believe you. I don't believe a word you're saying. You are saying anything to your own benefit. I don't believe you. And even if he was this, this tyrant of this village, it is the people of that village that need to deal with that matter, not for outside interlopers like yourself to impose yourself upon these people and become their messiah. And we know for a fact that that's not going to be the truth here.
We told him we were going to help them and make their lives better.
Help make your lives better, they say.
I then asked him about the beast, and the boy sighed. He told us that it was made by the village. The chieftain, in response to seeing that outsiders appeared on the island, ordered the entire tribe to group in the main village and help construct a guardian. This process took the majority of their energy, but not 3 days later, the chieftain ordered the young village men to come with him and to fight. The beast had been killed. The chieftain said, we were going to kill the men and violate the women. The anthropologist took me aside. He said that these villagers were an anomaly. I concurred, as it was not normal for people to craft flesh. But he said even aside from that, this shouldn't be possible. When I asked why, he responded that this language was a combination of European and Polynesian languages. Along with that, these villagers didn't look like Polynesians, as their skin was light-toned, unless they traveled across the world to this island.
Interesting. So these people, they speak a mixture of Polynesian languages as well as European languages. Their skin tone, or should I say, yes, it's a bit Caucasian. Interesting. So what? These people, or should I say their ancestors, migrated to this island maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago.
Some of the men brought us to the village. Couldn't have been more than 300 men and women. Their houses weren't made of wood or stone, but masses of flesh which bulged and moaned. These were made from the bodies of the dead, as a way to make sure their deaths were not worthless.
I still find that a bit disturbing, I find that very disturbing. I mean, imagine you're seeing your grandfather or your great-great-grandfather, he's become furniture in the house. Guys, no. Unless if the flesh, right, like the skin has been shedded off and it's just meat, and somehow they're manipulating all of that meat for it to become like a house. But still, you have to deal with the smell. The fact that the house is contorting and moving around, and I don't know, guys. I honestly don't understand. How is this structure still, in existence? Like, shouldn't the flesh be, going bad? Like, shouldn't there be some bacteria or mold growing on it? Maggots, being planted in there by flies or other insects, or other animals on the island eating the houses because it's made out of flesh, especially if they're carnivorous. Yes, carnivorous, animals. Yeah, This is just taking me back to the Dark Elder.
They wore wet flesh on themselves, which to me seemed more disgusting than the houses themselves. Most of the village was terrified of the chieftain, not even attempting to go back for the body, fearful that it wouldn't be dead. Some were terrified of the new arrivals, while others asked the elder, who graciously suggested they wait before jumping to conclusions about their new guests. The majority followed the elder.
I wish you did jump to conclusions. I wish you did. I wish you created another one of these flesh monsters to finally drive off these invaders. Because your paradise is lost. The moment Norman Taylor and his group landed on your islands, your paradise's days are numbered, essentially. Everything that you know, everything that you love, everything that you are as a people is going to be drastically changed, gutted, abused, crushed.
A sacred group who had, until very recently, led their tribe. Homelessness was non-existent. They seemed to have no outsiders or undesirables, whether it be in a caste system such as India, or economic status, such as in Europe and the rest of the Americas.
They have everything they could ever need. And there's someone like Norman who's going to say that they are poor people. They have everything they could ever need. Yes, I might not agree, with how it's created out of flesh, but it's their people, it's their culture, it's where they come from. And they are not poor. They are living as free and as, contempt as possible. But then there's going to be someone like Taylor who's going to say that they are uncivilized and they are poor.
Men and women are not separated based on sex, but based on their nature. Men and women hunt. Men and women search for food. They mostly subsist on meat, but fruits exist on this island as well. I saw families rush from their houses to some of the men we captured and smothered them with kisses and hugs and cries that they were okay and safe. I saw a man cry in front of another, barely standing up. I asked Ohashi what was happening. He said that they were husbands. I wish to know nothing more. I asked some others if there was a village elder. They said there were once many, but all of them were slaughtered by the chieftain. Originally, the island had been run by wise old men who knew the religion, studied their practice since birth, and had their oral history since the beginning of their tribe, many thousands of years ago. The chieftain, originally an apprentice of one of them, rose up and killed them along with the other apprentices. He mastered the arts of crafting flesh at an early age and could form entire beasts in an instant. I asked if there was anyone else who could give me the history of these people. There was one last remaining elder, the chieftain's father. When I questioned them on where they acquired the large mass of flesh, they told me that in the quest to make the beasts, they had used up all their reserves. Seeing an opportunity to make right with the community, I told them that we had a large supply of food on our ships, and that if they needed to, we would provide them with as much food as possible. However, I needed an agreement from the leader of this tribe. They would agree to whatever proposal I had if the elder did so, who, according to them, would always put their own interests aside for the good of the village. We told him our offer, which he accepted, and thanked us for being so generous. He hugged us, and went out of the tent and called for the entire village, saying that the men would be generous and give us food as they planted their own. Our men transported food to them.
Yes, they like to eat meat, but like we've just been told, there's other food sources on this island. They can eat fruits, they can eat nuts or vegetables that are available on the island. And they are surrounded by the ocean. They can fish. There is no Polynesian community or a tribe of people who do not know how to sail. There's no way. There's no way. So I'm not buying what Norman Taylor is saying here. I'm not buying it. Sorry guys, I was just called to do something, but I'm back. Okay, let's continue.
So generous. He hugged us and went out of the tent and called for the entire village, saying that the men would be generous and give us food as they planted their own. Our men transported food to them. One complained to me that they were giving away their food. I agreed, but told him that this was necessary to gain the trust. Then, once this occurred, we would be able to civilize them. We have established our capital city around the village. We've been training some of the hunters to hunt with our rifles, and they teach us their homeland and their agriculture. They place a newborn creature into the ground and bury it. The soil accelerates their growth. The elder says this is a sign from Ion that the island is one of his many holy lands.
Okay, hold on. So the soil itself on this island is also able to manipulate the flesh of any living being, and it makes them grow into a far larger creature. So not only are the people able to manipulate flesh, but the very land itself is also able to manipulate flesh. Interesting.
They planted newborn swines into the ground and will wait a couple months for them to develop. Until then, hunting other creatures, such as birds and fish, will be enough to satisfy them.
But you see, that's what I'm expecting. So when the village elder said that no, we don't have food, I'm bringing it up to question here, because Polynesian communities, tribes, and the people who live in those places, they know how to sail. They've been doing it for generations. They know how to fish. They've been doing it for generations. So it's not possible that they would be running out of food. Because in those times, should I say, I'm not entirely sure about the exact time, but the Polynesian islands that were populated, yes, there was some communities that were facing starvation. They would sail to other islands and obtain food there, or farm those islands and then return the food back to the islands where they come from. Or they would fish for food. So when this elder was saying, no, we don't have food, we don't know how we're going to survive, and Norman Taylor has the answer to their problem by giving them his food reserves, I just find this very convenient in his advantage. Very, very convenient.
I must remember to get cows and chickens and normal pigs from my newfound supplier. Swine is an excellent dish, but not something civilized people should feed on.
This man and his obsession with civilized.
I had a thought many nights ago. What if I am meant to bring these people an empire?
No. No.
It is a strange thought, but
Yes, it is a strange thought. A thought that should be quashed.
considering everything else that is going on in the past months, is it so strange to think this?
Yes, it is very strange to think that. Who are you to have the audacity to say something like this, to think something like this?
Is there truth to this? Or at the very least, elements of truth in it? I must think on this. I went into the mines today, and these mines definitely have gold. You could probably go down many, many miles, down below the crust of the earth. I come from a gold family. It's in my bones. Even my first job was mining gold, so I know there's gold here. My men whisper of leaving with the gold. I cannot allow that to happen. I must create an economy here, to strengthen ourselves here.
Yeah, like any other colonial mindset, person during the 1800s or even 1700s. You make up any excuse, any way to justify your reasoning to staying on in these lands and using the people for your own benefit. It's the same old story.
Assuming I have enough here to operate the mines, I must have others work on creating currency. Gold is humanity's oldest currency, but these people know nothing of money. They don't even have a barter economy, instead sharing with one another. I have heard of socialism amongst the Europeans, and this is the closest I can think of socialism. With few resources, it forces cooperation amongst them.
And of course, that is uncivilized for someone like you.
It's beautiful in a way, but not conducive to a civilized society, at least in the economic sense.
Oh, no, man. No, man. Oh.
I need to solve the labor crisis before my men forsake me. I asked the elder a hypothetical question. Would it be possible for a human child to be planted in the ground, and for a full-grown adult come in its place? He looked at me strangely. They answered yes, it is, but is generally viewed as inhumane, as it destroys the lifespan of the child.
He doesn't care. Now that he knows that it's possible, he's gonna do it. Because Norman does not care. He sees these people not as people, but as resource. As barbaric idiots that are required for his own greed and expansion. He sees them as animals. And you say that you're better than the Walker fella, the one who supports slavery. You say that you're better than him. You say that you're more civilized than him, Norman.
Well, it is said in the past that in times of disaster, children will be planted. This is only done when no other possibility is available. He then asked me why I was asking such odd questions, and I told him that I was planning. He seemed shocked at first, horrified even, but then I described to him our future plans. I told him that I thought I was to be the bringer of the Empire.
Here's another part of the story that I just don't believe one bit. I don't. This is a narrative that he has written to suit his needs. And since this biography, or should I say this diary of the events was written by him Of course he's altered it to suit his needs, to suit his ideal as the hero of the people of this island. I'm sure he threatened the elder. Somehow, someway he threatened the elder, and because they have guns, and because the main fighting force of the island has been decimated, what choice do the people have? What choice do the people have?
That with our weaponry and resources, we bring it about in quick order. We brought him to the gold mine and the ships and showed him the maps of the world. I told him that together with these people's innate abilities, we could bring the entire world under our reign. I described how commerce worked, leaving out references to competition, as I know would offend his cultural sensibilities. When I described to him how every nation on this planet had this, and the necessity of democratic institutions, he seemed more amicable to my plans. He approved of our plan, but told us to make it swift, and to make sure the parents do not witness this.
Why would the elder agree to something like this? Why would the elder agree to something like this and yet be against the chief who, yes, he was committing some terrible actions against his own people, but for some reason what Taylor is suggesting is not as equally evil? Why would the elder agree to this? He wouldn't betray his people like that, because he just said it, that this is an act of last resort to protect his community from any sort of natural disaster that might be happening. So why would he accept something like this? He wouldn't. No. Norman is lying. Of course he's lying. Of course he's lying.
I promised him this. He told the members of the community that it is a moral imperative to start producing offspring as soon as possible. Ohashi looked at me with disdain throughout the entire procedure. It's been nearly 3 months since my last entry, and I feel sick for what I've done.
Oh, shut up.
I feel unclean.
So what, are you going to beg for forgiveness from your God? I know that's what people like to do when they do such atrocities. Asking for absolution from their gods. You disgust me.
Nearly every woman on the island is pregnant. I feel disgusting. I cannot go into the village without feeling disgusting. I feel immoral. I feel evil.
Then why don't you just shoot yourself in the face and get it over with? You coward.
I can see their faces. I know what I am. I beg for Christ's forgiveness.
There it is. There it is. There it is.
And I know he reviles me as well. I threw my Bible out into the sea because I could feel it berating me. I could feel it berating me for what I've done.
But your greed is far stronger than your God. You never believed in your God. You believed in the greed. That is your true religion. Not your faith in a Christian God. No. Greed.
But I need to do this. I need to civilize these people. If I don't, who will?
No one should. You idiot.
The British? The Americans? Any other horrible, immoral power that slaughters its people?
You are no different. You haven't started killing people yet, but you are no different from them. You are no different.
If I leave, will the same befall these children of nature? I pray to a God whose back is turned on me. A child waved to me today, and I cried, because I know that child's brother will be the first one in the ground. I threw up. I have sinned. I am sin. It has been 6 months, and I cannot bring myself to reflect on my thoughts anymore. Occasionally, I'm plagued by nightmares of children rising from the ground and gnawing on me. They're popping out of the ground and grabbing me and bringing me under. I see myself having dirt flung on me, and they're still grabbing with their tiny little hands and crying for their mother, and I know I'm bleeding, and I'm crying out for God. But God has turned his back on me. It is done. The sin is done. I told some of the men to get their guns. Ohashi as well. He seemed disgusted at himself. He talked to himself in many languages I didn't recognize. I had never seen him this way before. The other men began to get nervous. The elder of the village told me most of the children were already born, anywhere from a couple weeks to multiple months, all of sufficient age to be used. The elder had performed his part. I then ordered my men to go into the tents and take the children, and to not shoot. I had to look away for most of it. Most of the children were ripped from their mothers' and fathers' arms as they cried. Others tried to stab at us, but were beaten into submission. One of our men broke down. He went into the tent and saw a mother with her bone knife. She held onto her baby as tight as possible, tears running down her face. She cried to Ion for him to save her son from these monsters. The man began to cry himself. Jethro lost his son and daughter in the blood disputes of Appalachia. He couldn't bring himself to fight back and broke down. We had to have one of our men bring him in and beat the mother into submission. She screamed for Ion, her savior, for forgiveness of whatever sin she committed to deserve this punishment. She begged. She screamed, eventually taking one of our guns and shooting our man. We lost the child in the scuffle. She was put down.
You mean she was killed? She was murdered? Coming with put down. The fuck is wrong with you?
The elder was attempting to console the village, who had begged him for assistance. He wept, but told them it was for the greater good, for Ion told him that the Empire would come in time due to this.
I don't believe that. Yet again, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that their God would betray them this way. Because this is the ultimate betrayal. Their people are going to be used as a resource, as slaves. Their children are going to lose their entire lives to serve the greed of one man. Why would a God allow something like that of their own creations? No. I don't believe that the elder of this community said something like that. I don't believe it. Yet again, Norman is lying. to suit his narrative.
Until then, do not resist, for it may anger Ion. By the end of the nightmare, we had over 300 children. We began the process of burying them. I still hear their cries, feeling the dirt enter their mouths and enter their bodies and lungs and stomach and everywhere else. They will be birthed soon. According to legend, the arm will be what signifies the second birth. 2 weeks have passed, and the men are still disturbed at the events. Many seek to go home. Others cry of nightmares. I feel something in my stomach weighing me down. I have this revolver next to me. I imagine myself putting the revolver in my mouth and cocking the hammer and shooting.
Do it. Do it.
May God take me from my mortal coil and rip me apart. I am a liar and disgusting fraud to all men. Ohashi never speaks to me anymore, only sleeping and occasionally eating. The nightmares only get worse. They're not screaming anymore, but whispering. They're whispering about what they'll do to me. Hundreds of voices whispering in the black dirt around me, holding on to me and describing my death. I will be ripped apart by Ion himself. I am no more civilized than the barbarians I'm trying to save. God, please forgive me. I ruined the island. God, I wish I could turn back.
Nah. Even if you did turn back time, you'd still do the same goddamn thing. You would still do the same thing. You would still come to the island, shoot the chief, interrogate or intimidate the people on this island to do what you want, so that you can control the resources of this island, no matter the cost. No matter the cost, you would still do the same thing. Because it's your colonial capitalist mindset. And your racial mindset as well. You would have done the same thing. And then you'll ask your God for forgiveness.
Turn back and pretend none of this happened. But if I leave now, the men will be angry for all their time and effort and ruined.
Yeah, it's always someone else. It's always someone else. Someone else will be angry. Someone else will be, disappointed. Someone else will start arguing with me. No, it's never just you wanting to associate your greed. It's never that.
Not only that, but the island now relies on my supplies. It won't be for many months, if not years, that their food stock will be brought back up to its previous circumstances.
That's one of the biggest lies I've ever heard in my entire life. Big lie.
If I do, they're all gonna starve. If I leave, I will ruin these people.
You've already ruined them. You've ruined them mentally, socially, as a people, culturally. You've destroyed it all.
Shown then that the white man can't be trusted, and forever snapped the connection between us and them. No, I can't let that happen. I need to stay. I need to.
Uh-huh.
I am a monster. I am unforgivable. I am sin itself. I'm so sorry. It has been 3 months, and there's been a second birth. I stepped foot onto the pastures in the middle of the island for the first time in 3 months. Limbs dotted the landscape. Full-grown adult arms jutting out of the ground, covered in dirt and sunburnt. Some of my men have already started pulling them out of the ground. The elder tells me it takes a while before full humans wake up. Women were placed into the care of the village, as they are necessary for future reproduction.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Hey. And then he says that he doesn't believe in slavery. What is this? What is this? What is this?
And the men dropped off at the shipyard for future mining. Barracks have been built for them, and they will be taught how to mine and fashion coinage for the island. We will repeat the process.
These people never needed any of this. They never needed any of this called civilization. They never needed any of it. You destroyed their paradise. You destroyed their home for your so-called civilization.
I have written my constitution. I lifted many aspects from the American one. Most of the men, despite many reservations with me, will vote for me in the election. If I let the villagers vote, I will certainly lose.
As you should. And you should get off this island and go home. Or better yet, just die.
These men know that without me they'll certainly die without the perceived friendship with Ohashi. Ohashi did not respond to me when I said I wrote the Constitution. Not that I blame him. I told the elder that I won the presidency, and he congratulated me. He then asked how the second birthers were. I told them the mines were working at an increased efficiency, and that we were creating the first batch of currency. We opened the stores and gave each villagers enough coin to buy a couple of things. We told them that if they wished to continue this, they would need to accept the following: to have their tents destroyed and replaced with wooden houses. Many of them rejected this as an insult to their culture, and that it would make them selfish and self-destructive. We told them it was either the house or the stores. Many accepted, although many of the older members still refused.
Man, this is so accurate almost, to what has happened in our real world in terms of colonialism and how it has affected almost every single continent on this planet. Really, it's so accurate, almost frightening.
By the end of the day, every tent was destroyed, and construction began. Many of these men and women are hard workers. Gold production is increasing, and even small farms are beginning. But yet I come across another problem. I need to rid these people of their collective farms. Collective farm makes it difficult to encourage enterprise, because one must always think the collective soil. However, I decided to give the elder plans about this, and he told me if it meant the empire be created faster, so be it. I am Sin.
I am so tired of hearing you say that. I am so very tired. I'm frustrated. I don't care that you're a sinner. I don't care that you have forsaken your God. I don't give a shit about any of the stuff that you're trying to get some sort of emotional response from me in terms of giving you sympathy or understanding your point of view. You're not going to get it from me. Just do what you want to do. Be proud of it. Like any other monster should. Be proud of it.
Today I put down a revolt in the streets. When I announced my plan for the farms to be split amongst the best farmers in the community, they universally rejected it.
And this is how you make the people poor. Where they were able to benefit as a community in farming, now it has been demarcated, separated between the have and have-nots. Those who will have the land, that will farm the land, are producing the food, and those who don't have the land, who cannot produce their own food, now have to be working in mines to get this money so that they can buy food. If they don't get enough money, they can't buy food. If they don't get enough money, they can't build a house. You've destroyed them. You've destroyed them for your civilized culture.
They yelled at me. Then they began to scream. Then they began to attack my men. One of my men, Henry, began to panic, and so drew his pistol and shot 2 men. This further inflamed the violence. I called Ohashi to quell the violence, but there was nothing he could do. They burnt down the store, stealing things from inside, claiming that it was a violation of their culture. Some even tried stealing our guns. I called in my men and they began putting it down. Gunshots rang out in the village, eventually ending in the death of 50 people. The elder being one of them.
Because the elder was never a part of any of this nonsense that Norman Taylor is talking about. He was never, ever any part of this nonsense. He would never agree for his people to be used this way. He would never agree for his people's land to be cut up like this. He would never. Because Norman Taylor, he instigated all of this, and he's the one who's been intimidating the elder of the community to do as he commands. He threatened him. He threatened his people. He displayed the type of weaponry systems that they have in their possession, and he probably told them at gunpoint, if you don't do what I'm telling you, you are going to die like your chief. And that is why I'm not going to believe any word that comes out of Norman Taylor saying that he's talking with the chief, that the chief is agreeing to every single thing that he is suggesting as a plan. This was the final straw, where the chief finally decided that he was going to fight, and he died.
We put the revolt down. A good 1/4 of our original population was slaughtered in the streets, and by my men. God forgive me for what I've done. I called them barbarians, killers, and thieves. I killed 1/3 of every man in the city, as I needed the women alive for the birthing. On the next day, I took every small child in the village and buried them again.
Now you're used to it. Now you don't feel any sort of remorse, any sort of pain or nothing. You're used to it now. You're used to hearing the children screaming as you plant them into the ground. You're used to it.
The nightmares get worse and worse. But I know one thing. I will build my empire. One bullet at a time. It's definitely a bit more clear now on why the Foundation had to step in to control things here. With that, we're given a summary of the Foundation's initial discovery and containment of the Republic.
I don't know who wrote this dossier, this SCP-4036 dossier. I don't know who wrote it, but you did a good job. The fact that I am angry this way, that I'm pissed off, it means you've done a good job. The story really is compelling. Yeah. It's a good job. It's a very, very good job.
They first discovered it during the Republic's invasion of the northern island of British New Zealand. There were reports prior to this of an undiscovered force in Polynesia causing havoc across the smaller, sparsely populated islands, but once they invaded New Zealand in 1861, the Foundation couldn't ignore it. It took less than a day for the Republic and its 5,000 men to take over the island, with a collective 200 dead. After this, the Foundation declared Taylor's Republic to be the top priority in the region. By the end of the month, an international coalition of Spain, Japan, Netherlands, France, and Great Britain had been called together by the Foundation to combat the Republic.
Yeah, colonial powers fighting against another colonial power.
General Bow was placed in charge of the coalition, and despite the coalition preventing the Republic from gaining new ground, they couldn't manage to regain any of the conquered territory. This changed when the vice president and leader of religious affairs of the Republic, Ohashi Hachigoro, wrote to 052, an old friend, and offered the Foundation near unlimited information about the Republic's military operations, tactics, weaknesses, and possibly rebel groups in the region. The only thing that Ohashi wanted in return was that the general population of the Republic be unharmed. The Foundation, of course, couldn't help but accept, and proceeded to deliver a variety of armaments to Ohashi and his rebel groups. The decisive factor, however, was the Battle of South Island, which began with dozens of bone ships on the horizon, their hulls made of femur bones, which made cannon fire near impossible, and with eyes covering every part of the vessel to make boarding them impossible. General Bow gave his men the order to hold their ground in order to defend the island, but in private he prepared a different plan. As part of leading the coalition, Bow had been given temporary Level 5 status in the Foundation, giving him access to information a normal general wouldn't have. One thing he learned about was MTF Theta-01, which was formed during the Foundation's Civil War in 1814.
1814, the Foundation had a civil war? Wow. Okay.
Is composed of anomalous individuals drawn from persons of interest, staff, and SCPs. They had proven their loyalty to the Foundation, and were called upon as an ace in the hole during times of disaster. When General Bow ordered them to destroy the fleet of bone ships, they were only too glad to answer, frying the fleet with a large thaumic blast from the sky. By the end of the year, the Republic had been all but beaten, and was near collapse. Ohashi, seeing an opportunity that the Battle of South Island left open, ordered his rebel groups to attack the capital. Within the span of 2 months, the capital was laid to ruins, with over 17,000 casualties on the Republic side. Despite the mass destruction, Ohashi came out the victor, declaring himself the President of the Republic, and called for elections of the House of Representatives, Senate, and for the church to call in delegates. Taylor, realizing he had nothing left to lose, attempted one final assault on the Capitol, grabbing the handful of men still loyal to him. They marched on the Capitol building and ordered Ohashi to surrender, telling him that he would pardon him if he did. Ohashi instead had Taylor's men slaughtered in the street, and Taylor himself gagged and thrown into a jail cell to be used as leverage. The other islands that the Republic had conquered had been regained by the Coalition, with minimal damage, but the Foundation wanted to take over the Republic entirely to ensure containment. The Coalition, however, unfamiliar with Foundation policy, were not willing to plan a full-out invasion of the island, and Ohashi, of course, was not willing to cooperate.
So the SCP don't have their own private army? But they have a navy. Interesting.
He refused to allow Foundation representatives onto his island and ordered his military to arrest any Foundation officers that arrived. Rather than destroying the island, then, they resorted to containing it, and it remains their biggest failure.
I mean, why don't you just negotiate with this new president, Owashi? Yes, why don't you just negotiate with him and come to some sort of agreement on what is to happen with this island in the future, instead of just making a standoff, of blockading the island, isolating the people there, and, just creating so much animosity between the Foundation and this nation of the Aditic Republic. Sorry guys, I'm pronouncing this name incorrectly here. I think I've also spelled it incorrectly here, but yeah, instead of blockading them, why don't you negotiate with them?
We're next given a series of excerpts from interviews taken during the modern day. These interviews were conducted with citizens of the Republic under the guise of a reporter from the capital. One citizen says that he can speak English, although he tends to use it sparingly, and only the city ones really use it. The rest use the traditional language, the ones their ancestors used to communicate with Ion before they were cut off. Ion cut them off because they use metal, and they're wandering in the dark now. He says that they don't use machines though, instead using flesh and bones like they always have and always will. Whenever he holds one of those things in his hand, he feels unclean in his own skin, like a spirit is massaging his skin and scalp in a horrifically uncomfortable way. Many of the farmers out here don't use machines, but he thinks it's more due to their economy than their beliefs. Another citizen says that the sewers here are one of the worst things he's ever seen. The pipes are alive as well, growing and expanding outward, and they need to encourage it to go in the right direction. They cut a couple limbs off here and there, and they scream and squeal, but they need to transport their waste in the right direction. That isn't the worst part, in his opinion though, which is the homeless critters that are underneath the city.
Homeless critters?
They don't bother bringing the limbs back up, instead just letting the critters eat them. Since the pipes are filled with their waste, he doesn't know how desperate a man has to be before eating flesh covered in human waste.
But the people of this island never needed to do any of this. They were not poor. They were not poor. They've been brought to this point because of one man's greed and ambition. I may not like this, flesh manipulation or biological technology. I may not really like it but it's been a part of their people. It's a form of their identity and their technology that has been given to them by their gods, or God, Ion. It's a part of them. And I am in no position to say that, it is barbaric, or it is something that should be, destroyed because I feel it's disgusting. No, who am I? Who am I to judge them? So, what has happened to this island, really, it is truly unfortunate. It's sad. And I can just hope one day the people of this island can, I don't want to say revert back to what they used to be completely, but just find a way to merge this modern world that we live in with your biological technology. Because I still think there are advantages to this type of technology or this type of manipulation that would be beneficial for humanity. Because that is the main interest I have now as this SCP-4036. Remember that the SCP Foundation is meant for humanity's sake. They're meant to protect humanity. They're meant to, give advancement for humanity. This is part of it. This is part of it now. So I can only hope one day, the people of this island, or this chain of islands, this archipelago, will be able to, reintegrate with the rest of humanity. And then they're able to teach others of their flesh manipulation techniques and technology. Because I still see a beneficial advantage to such, abilities. One day, I hope.
That's desperation if he's ever seen it. Another citizen discusses the Foundation, calling them a scourge, and he finds their current president's rhetoric amoral and perhaps dangerous for platforming on mending their relationship with the Foundation. Another rural citizen claims to not keep track of what the president is doing, and says that the city dwellers are too concerned with technology and metal, rather than their savior, Ion. He says that they are all absorbed back into his body in the end anyways. Another citizen discusses the state of other religions on the island, saying that it is unnatural for people of other religions to be here, and it's a danger to their society. They don't think that these people deserve what's happening to them, but they shouldn't be surprised by the reaction either. This is a holy nation founded on Ion's beliefs and desires, and although they personally abhor violence, they just want a peaceful cleansing of this nation.
There's no such thing as a peaceful cleansing. There's no such thing. That type of mindset is exactly like how, Norman Taylor was able to justify himself for the atrocities and actions he committed on the island. Don't become like the monsters you hate. Don't become like them. I agree that your culture and your religion should exist. But it does not mean that you must now push other people and their culture and their religions away. That's not how it works. And that's also one of the reasons why I don't really like, theocratic states, especially with people who are zealous in their religious beliefs. Very dangerous, very narrow-minded.
Speaking to a non-Sarkic citizen, they discuss a time when they went looking in the woods after hearing some murmuring and screams. He found a dozen Sarkics wearing large, fleshy tendrils on their persons and symbols of one of the nearby warlord camps. The man began to walk away, but fell into a pit filled with bodies, all in various states of rottage, with worms crawling around in their eyes and maggots eating holes inside of their faces and throats and God knows where else. His thud attracted the Sarkic's attention, so the man gripped his shotgun and hid under the bodies, praying to his savior for forgiveness and protection. The Sarkics spoke in hushed whispers, and one poked the body that he was laying under. He could smell her rotting corpse and saw that her eyes weren't there anymore, just glassy holes that used to contain humanity. He peeked out and saw the Sarkics holding flesh weaponry, with black-red tendrils popping out of their backs, revealing their skeletons and organs. He aimed for one of these backs, hoping to strike a heart or other vital organ, and fired, managing to blow out not only his brains, but also his heart and skeleton as well. He then ran as far as possible, occasionally firing back as a warning, and managed to escape. He went to the police in the city the following morning, and they checked out the pit. There wasn't a single person without Christian or Islamic iconography in that pit. Another citizen says that the Foundation is their protector as well as their slaver. They protect their borders, but only under the auspicions of keeping them in bondage. Their military isn't for protecting them from other countries, but rather an international agency bent on their destruction. He has heard stories of the Republic trying to court the GOC or the GRU, but to no avail. And he wonders...
GOC and GRU? Are those other SCP factions, maybe?
If he'll ever see his homeland of Japan again. Someone else says that their battle with the Foundation isn't only an ideological battle over independence and centralization, but a battle over science and religion. He believes that the Foundation is not only a physical force, but a spiritual one as well. They are the force that seeks to contain who you are and what you are, and wish to contain their religion to keep it from spreading as it should across the world. Another citizen sometimes worries that their people are too focused on an upcoming...
Okay, hold on guys, hold on. Okay, alright, let's continue.
...defensive battle with the Foundation. The rural people wish for peace and their common religion, while the cities seek outside products like phones, the internet, and other technological equipment. The Foundation is a threat to their religion and their ability to connect to the outside. He worked for the military for 2 years, and they all know that a war is coming, even if they don't want to admit it. If there is a war, their country will burn. Finally, someone else wonders why they're here. They understand how they're here, but don't know why. They wonder if they're just trying to keep the experiment their founder had many years ago, or their second president. Or are they trying to survive against the oppressive forces of the Foundation? They don't know, but they do know what they are, and that's enemies of the Foundation. That binds them all together, although they're unsure of how much longer that will last. The last section of the document is a draft of a treaty that the Council has written up between the Foundation and the Republic. The treaty involves the Aditite Republic of Polynesia being officially recognized by the Foundation, and will be allowed the conditions of trade and self-determination under Foundation supervision. The Foundation will, to the best of its abilities, protect the current regime of the Republic, its interests, and its people. The Republic will, in exchange, relinquish all responsibilities to the Foundation in the case of an anomalous phenomenon within the Republic. there is an anomalous humanoid in the Republic outside of standard anomalous capabilities, the authorities will detain and revoke the citizenship of said humanoid and place it at the nearest Foundation site in the region. They will also allow the construction of a Foundation site on the island to contain any anomalous objects or entities that may inhabit the country.
I think the O5 Council has to bring this to an end. You know, this monitoring of this entire island chain is a wasteful and fruitless expenditure. It needs to end. The people of these islands have knowledge and abilities that will be beneficial for humanity. It will be beneficial for humanity. Yes, maybe there should be laws that curtail how far flesh manipulation should go, so that, you know, we don't see abominations of, you know, a clumped up mass of flesh of, you know, innocent human beings, you know, all being amalgamated into one monster to fight battles, you know, for the greed of one person. Yeah, probably there should be laws that would curtail such, you know, possibilities. But the people of this island, you know, they deserve to be part of the global community. Whatever knowledge base they have also deserves to be shared with the rest of humanity. Because, like we've been told in the beginning with the health services, it's almost free of charge because of their abilities, because of what they're able to do with flesh manipulation skills and knowledge. We need that. We need that. That will revolutionize the healthcare system across the entire planet. We won't need to be paying health insurance. We won't need to be wondering, you know, which hospital should we go to, whether it will be a private hospital or a state hospital. I mean, that is going to be one of the biggest, you know, changes that humanity will ever have. A huge life, you know, change for many of us, especially those who are suffering from chronic illnesses, those who are suffering from their bodies being deformed, or, you know, they've been amputated. Imagine the applications medically for this type of knowledge and skill. I think the benefits outweigh the threats from this country. I think the people of this country need to start traveling more across the world, and maybe then they'll start losing this perspective of thinking that they should spread their religion across the world because, you know, Ion told them so. Or they should stop viewing, you know, through the lens of this is a spiritual war, this is a spiritual you know, combat for the survival of our people against the SCP Foundation. The SCP Foundation is fueling this type of narrative in their country because they are blockaded this way. It needs to come to an end. It needs to come to an end.
Finally, they will allow the Foundation to use physical or human resources in the region for the purposes of furthering containment of an item or serving Foundation needs. As this is currently only a draft, it's unknown on if the two groups will actually come to an agreement and how.
I think this agreement should be scrapped. I think this agreement is wrong because it's still placing the people of this archipelago republic nation under the boot of, you know, an organization such as the SCP. The SCP should have no jurisdiction in how other nations, you know, conduct themselves on the international stage. That is the prerogative of the United Nations and the United Nations Security Council, not the SCP Foundation.
How long it might last. Things were pretty clear when Taylor was in charge of the Republic. He was a little mad and wanted to build a Sarkic empire, so the Foundation swiftly stepped in to stop him. In the process, they managed to avoid taking control of the Republic entirely, instead leaving it in the hands of Taylor's number 2. That's when things get a little trickier, as now they have a nation of anomalous people that don't have any interest in conquering land, so the Foundation has to decide on how nice they're willing to be. The people of the Republic know that they wouldn't win a war against the Foundation, but at the same time, such an event would be pretty public in the modern age. Perhaps this treaty will go well, and peace will be had, but at the same time, the people of the Republic itself seem to be somewhat divided between embracing the old ways and accepting new ones.
I mean, that's the story of many countries across the world. It's not really something that should be seen as a danger or a threat to the security of humanity. They're just going through the normal, problems that many nations across the world are going through. Whether they should stick to culture and traditions, or they should, go into some sort of modernist society. When one of the best solutions is to try to amalgamate both of them together. Create compromises. Create pathways that fit with each other. Instead of always thinking of it's either my way or the highway.
At the end of the day, the Foundation's goal is containment. However, that might be achieved.
Yes, guys. Okay. Wow. That was exploring the SCP Foundation. Yeah. Huh? Yes, exploring the SCP Foundation, SCP-4036, The Republic, made on the Exploring Series YouTube channel. I don't know who wrote the dossier for this SCP, but really it made me angry. It really, really made me angry. And that's good. That's good writing. That's good storytelling right there. The fact that I'm having an emotional response to it like this, it's very good. And, in terms of this nation, the Arctic Republic of Polynesia, this nation is very unique. What the people are able to do is also very unique, and I see it as a beneficial advantage for humanity. I do. And I just hope that the SCP, the O5 Council, or what's the higher structure of the SCP Foundation? I think it's the Ethics Committee. Yes. Hopefully the Ethics Committee can also relook at this entire situation and find a far more, amicable solution to it. Because really, what's been done there in terms of containing this entire archipelago nation is just not right. You're just fueling more animosity, and one day it's just going to blow over, and people are going to fight. So in order to avoid that type of situation, the people of that island need to be exposed to the rest of the world. The rest of the world needs to be exposed to the people of this island. They can't be trapped there forever. They can't. And in terms of the story with Norman Taylor, yeah, like I said, it really made me very angry. Very, very, very angry. I'm not sure about how to put this in words, but how I'm feeling right now because of Norman Taylor, and he's just the way he's tried to justify his actions. It's really just something that you just don't want to hear from people, honestly. Well, I don't want to hear people talk this type of nonsense to try to justify their actions. It's just deplorable. It's disgusting. It's cowardice. And I have to really applaud those who wrote this story, because it affected me. It affected me. I'm not going to forget this. I'm not going to forget SCP-4036. It's imprinted in my mind now. I'm not going to forget it. And I think that was, the goal of the person who wrote down the story. That people don't forget about it. People find entertainment in it. But in terms of me, I'm not really entertained. I'm more frustrated. But it's good. It's good. It's good work right here. So yeah, Norman Taylor. Wow, unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. But yeah, flesh manipulation. Like I said before, personally, I find it very disturbing. But like I've said before, I see the advantages of this type of skill. I see the advantages. In terms of planting people into the ground and having them grow up, I think that should be banned. I think that should be banned. Because we don't live in those times anymore where the people of the island had to grow animals underground, for them to grow fast so that they could consume them, and they don't have to be planting their children down underground because their populace is of a stable number. They don't have to do that anymore. So I think that type of activity needs to be outlawed internationally. It should be something that the United Nations level of competency and authority and jurisdiction should have a decision on. That humans should not be, doing something like this. Yes, people are going to say it's part of their culture. However, human rights take precedence over anyone's culture or religion. Human rights take precedence. And also animal rights and animal cruelty is something that should always be always be put to the forefront, where such animals should not be suffering through such activities. That's why I'm saying that part should be outlawed. How we regulate flesh manipulation should also be put into a document that clearly specifies on what can be done, what should not be done. And I'm sure those who believe in Sarkicism, they will find ways to adapt to this new reality. Because if you want to join the global community, you will have to play by the global community's rules and regulations. You will have to play by them. You can't have your cake and eat it. So those who want to continue their culture or their religion in the strictest definition, I'm afraid you're not going to find any support from the rest of the world. If you want to join us, there are some things that will have to be agreed upon. Yeah. But this was interesting. SCP-4036. Very, very, very interesting. Thank you again to Read Cat. Yes, thank you again for the request. This was really amazing. And also thank you to the Exploring Series YouTube channel for the content. It's been really enjoyable to listen to and also get angry about. But yeah, guys, that's it. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as the Exploring Series YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And hopefully I'll see you guys next week. Yeah. Okay? Bye-bye.